agree.
You tell me when you're ready for the next one.
Yeah,
we're literally taking everything, and everything is going in U-Hauls.
We're here with Hayley.
Hey.
What's your title again?
Director of Operations.
Cool. We're in the middle of a move, right?
Yes, yes. We are moving 4 apartments here at this lovely apartment complex out of 9. We're going to do another 2 apartments at a different property here as soon as we're done. So 6 we're moving out of at the exact same time. And it is a hot day in Texas. Big time.
So I got a couple questions. You just keep doing what you're doing,
okay,
and I'll just ask, I guess.
I'm just getting some food for some of these movers right now, but what's up?
All right, so somebody asked, Jennifer asked, how do you manage laundry for that many units?
Well, we make sure that they are included washer and dryer. That's our big secret. We have washer and dryer in each apartment. So yeah, the cleaners will usually, they show up and the first thing they do is start the wash so that it's running, and then they'll do a quality check after that and flip it in the middle of their cleaning session, make sure that everything is put away before they leave and the dryer is empty. So.
Cool. Speaking about cleaners, are your in-house cleaners hired as payroll staff or as independent contractors?
I believe it is currently marked as independent contractors.
Cool.
Hopefully Sean's not mad at me if I'm wrong for saying that, but we'll find out. How
does she manage messaging? Auto reply, scheduled messages, scheduled reviews, smart BNB, question mark?
Actually, we have a customer service staff. So we've got about 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 girls actually that are working shifts throughout the week. We got a morning shift, day shift, and night shift. And they actually just are logged in all night long and messaging and responding as the messages come in. So it's personal, customized to the conversation. We don't do anything automated. We have a couple of like pre-saved messages, like here's your check-in instructions, or you know, basic answers on whether or not they can check in early or check out late. But for the most part, everything is handwritten.
How do you guys handle guest verification / background checks for apartments that require them for each reservation?
We advertise that on the listing. So before they even book with us, it should be in our house rules. It's also in our pre-booking message. We have it, where else do we even have it? We mention it before we even give them the check-in instructions too. So they can't even check in prior to filling that out. Unfortunately, Airbnb doesn't really support us enforcing that. So it will negate our strict cancellation policy if the guest isn't comfortable with filling out a background check, which kind of sucks. But that's why we try to provide that information as upfront in capital letters and bold everywhere we can before they even book, because we don't want them to think that they can just book it like normal and get away with staying when the apartment complex is requiring a criminal background check from us from the guest. So.
Do your apartments require access fobs to enter the premise after hours? If so, what's your process for key exchange if 24-hour concierge is not available?
So we are pretty strict with our check-in times. It's complicated. It depends on the property and it depends on the layout and where we're able to put lockers or lock boxes. If they have any issues, we always throw this disclaimer out there where it's like, you can check in between 4 p.m. and midnight. After midnight, our staff is not available to help you. So if you decide you want to check in at 12:30 or 1 a.m., hopefully you read through the check-in instructions and thoroughly checked and made sure that you asked us all the questions you needed, because you are on your own after midnight. And we've made that very clear. So we're not liable for what happens after midnight. We want to make sure that they all understand that. But it is supposed to be a self-check-in process. We understand there are hiccups and people not being able to find lockers or lock boxes for whatever reason. Maybe they got confused on something. So as far as after hours, we don't really have a situation there. We tell them they're on their own. But for the most part, a lot of our self-check-in process is lock boxes or lockers. So there'll be a code, and we can kind of direct them to find it and get their keys out of it with that code.
Cool. Now, last one is, what's your process for vacating reservations that break house rules? Like example, house parties in the middle of the night. On-call security companies, police show up at properties personally, or other methods? Question mark.
We're actually still developing that. That's something we're still trying to master. It's been really tricky, especially with the large quantity of units that we manage. Right now, we're kind of experimenting with the minute point system that can help us send alerts, or help send us alerts whenever the noise volume gets too loud. We also are trying to practice with just different security cameras where we can watch and see if there's too many people showing up and trying to throw a party. So basically, the best way that we've discovered is if we can catch them in the act where one of our employees is nearby, We actually just hired a security person to kind of walk the grounds at 2 or 3 of different of our properties at 12:30 in the morning and 1:30 in the morning, so that if someone's being really loud after midnight, obviously quiet hours are no later than midnight, depending on the day. And people should be quiet and not be having loud music or anything. So if he catches them, at that point, he can let the guests know that they need to leave because they've been violating house rules. It's really kind of the only way, because Airbnb doesn't really do much unless we catch them in the act. Finding out the next day, you know, that they threw a party doesn't really do much, because what's done is done. So the best step from there, we catch them in the act, we call Airbnb support, we let them know what's going on, and we tell them we want these guests out. It can get pretty tricky as far as like whether or not the guests want to cooperate. So I will try to work it with how cooperative the guests are. If they decide they don't want to leave, and obviously, you know, if it gets to like a police situation or whatever, then the police want to do more court-related stuff and not so much hands-on, because we are an Airbnb. So I think, actually, and I'm sorry, you may want to cut some of this around, but I guess it just depends on the situation, because it just is so different. If we can catch them in the act and they want to cooperate, then, you know, they usually just leave, because Airbnb support will call them and tell them that they've violated the house rules, they do need to vacate. If they don't want to cooperate and put up a fight, obviously Airbnb support will be on our side with that, because they're violating the rules and they're being, you know, disrespectful, you know, and negligent and everything. If that's the case, that's where it would escalate to things like having to call the police and get a police report. We would need then their reservation to be canceled. So once Airbnb cancels their reservation, they no longer have a legal right to be there. And then we can actually report them for trespassing, because they don't have a reservation with us anymore. So that would be kind of the next step. And that's when it gets escalated, because they don't want to be cooperative. But yeah, no, we don't give refunds for people who break house rules either. So you should be protected that way too.
Actually, I have another question, I think.
Yeah, what's up?
So what's the secret to hiring an amazing employee like you, know, like an amazing property manager?
The secret to hiring one? Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good question. I don't know. Well, Sean and I were actually friends prior to him hiring me. But I was really looking for, you know, something that could be creative and kind of do my own thing. I've got a lot of management experience. And when he was telling me about his business that he's running, I was like, you know, I could help you with that. I kind of just offered. I was like, I got a lot of experience in leading or whatever. And kind of, I think what stuck us working together really well is that he does trust me. So I think if you're looking to hire someone, I don't know if I have an answer for that, but to keep someone who's good and someone who cares and someone who's passionate about getting the work done,
Yeah.
treating them like they're important, you know, and showing them that you trust them, and even if they make a mistake, that you can be forgiving and not condemning or, you know, shooting them down kind of thing.
Oh.
I think for me, the reason I want to stick with Sean and work with Sean is because he's done nothing but encourage me, make me feel good about the work that I'm doing, and so all it does is motivate me to work harder.